Level 1. The night Jerusalem burns. You are 16 years old. You smell the smoke before you see the flames. Nebuchadnezzar's army has been at the gates for 3 days. Tonight they come through. You press yourself against your father's wall and listen to the city die. Doors being kicked in, women crying, then silence, which is worse. A Babylonian officer arrives before dawn with a scroll and checks your teeth. He notes your posture, your hands, your face. You are from the nobility of Judah. You are exactly what the empire is looking for. They bind your wrists and line you up in the street with 300 other young men. You recognize Hananiah 2 rows ahead. His jaw is set. His hands are shaking. Yours probably are too. You walk out through the gates as the city burns behind you. The journey to Babylon takes 3 months. You learn to stop counting the miles and start counting the stars instead. Same stars, same God behind them. You hold on to that with everything you have. Level 2. The King's Table. You are 17 years old. Babylon is the largest city in the world, and everyone here wants you to know it. You have been given a new name, Belteshazzar, and 3 years of training. Babylonian language, literature, astronomy, law. Your mind works fast and clean, and the teachers notice. But then comes the real test. The royal steward places before you a tray from the king's own kitchen, roasted meat, palace wine, bread from ovens you will never see. The finest food in the empire, you cannot touch it. The dietary laws of your people are clear, and you have carried them from Jerusalem like a second skin. You propose a deal, 10 days of vegetables and water, then measure you against the others. The steward agrees because you have given him a way out that costs him nothing. 10 days later, you and your 3 companions are measurably sharper than every student who ate from the royal table. The steward writes something in his ledger and walks away. You eat your vegetables. You keep going. Level 3. The dream that cannot be told. You are 18 years old. Nebuchadnezzar dreamed something and woke screaming. He will not say what it was. He is ordering every wise man in Babylon to tell him both the dream and its meaning, or be executed. The order includes you. You go back to your room and tell your 3 companions. The 4 of you kneel on the stone floor of your quarters in the dark and pray to the God your parents taught you. Not the God whose name they just gave you, the real one. You ask for mercy. You ask for revelation. You ask to not be killed before you have really lived. In the night, the answer comes. You see the statue, gold head, silver chest, bronze thighs, iron legs, feet of clay, and the stone not cut by human hands that strikes it and scatters it to dust. You see the stone become a mountain that fills the whole earth. You understand not just the image, but the meaning, the sweep of empires that will rise and fall while something permanent grows beneath them. You stand before Nebuchadnezzar the next morning. You are 18. Your wrists still carry the marks from the rope. You tell him what he dreamed without flinching. He gets up from his throne and bows down in front of you. You do not know what to do with your hands. Level 4. The furnace. You did not enter. You are 20 years old. You are not in Babylon the day they build the statue. When Nebuchadnezzar constructs his 90-foot idol on the plain of Dura and commands every official to bow or burn, you are away on provincial business, the worst day your 3 companions ever face, and you are not beside them. You hear the story from messengers 3 days later, the music across the plain, 10,000 men dropping to their knees, and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego standing alone in the crowd. the furnace, the fourth figure walking in the fire. You sit very still and say nothing for a long time. You do not know if you are relieved or ashamed. You decide it is probably both, and you carry that quietly, the way you have learned to carry difficult things. You think about standing, about how hard it is to remain upright when 10,000 people drop to their knees around you, and you were not even given the chance to try. They were given the choice. They made it, whatever that fourth figure was that walked beside them in the fire. You have your suspicions, and you hold those suspicions close like something too holy to say out loud. Then you get back to work. The work is still there. Your God is still God, and you are still Daniel. Level 5, the hand on the wall. You are 80 years old. Nebuchadnezzar has been dead for 23 years. You have watched 3 kings rise and fall since then, and outlasted all of them. Your hair is white. Your joints ache. You have spent 6 decades in this empire, and it still does not feel like home, which you have decided is not failure, but faithfulness. Tonight, Belshazzar is feasting with the sacred goblets from Jerusalem. The gold and silver vessels taken from the temple, now filled with Babylonian wine and raised to gods of stone. Then a hand appears on the plaster wall, just a hand, no arm, no body, and writes 4 words. The music stops. Belshazzar's knees begin to knock together, audibly in the silence. They call for you because no one else will say the true thing. You read it. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. Numbered, weighed, divided. His kingdom is finished. The Medes and the Persians are coming. He gives you a purple robe and a gold chain. Before dawn, the walls are breached. Belshazzar is dead. You hold the chain and think about what it costs in the end to always tell the truth. Level 6, the den of lions. You are 82 years old. Darius the Mede has taken Babylon, and you have survived the transition, as you have survived every transition for 66 years. This is the thing your enemies cannot forgive. They watch you for months looking for corruption. They find nothing, so they build a trap from your only consistent vulnerability. You pray to your God 3 times a day with the window open, facing Jerusalem. They convinced Darius to sign a decree that for 30 days no prayer may be made to any god but the king. Darius signs it. He is proud. He does not think it through. You go home, you climb the stairs, you open the window, you kneel. The lions are warm and patient in the dark. You hear them shift around you, feel their breath on your face. You are 82 years old, and you are not afraid. Not because you are brave, but because you have lived a long and serious life, and you no longer need to pretend. At dawn, Darius runs to the den, alone before the city wakes. "Daniel," he shouts, "has your God rescued you?" You brush lion fur from your robe. "O king," you call back, "live forever." Level 7, the visions. You are 87 years old. They come in the gap between sleep and waking, light that hurts. Sound with no name in any language you speak. The 4 beasts rising from the sea. Lion, bear, leopard, the terrible 4th creature with iron teeth and 10 horns, the little horn with eyes like a man speaking great things. The Ancient of Days taking his seat on a throne of flame, his garment white as snow, 10,000 times 10,000 standing before him, and the books opened. Gabriel flies swiftly and touches you, and you fall on your face on the stone floor. He lifts you. He says, "Daniel, I have come to give you insight and understanding." Then he tells you things. 70 weeks of years, an anointed one cut off, the desolating sacrilege, the resurrection of the dead, some to everlasting life, some to shame, the time, times, and half a time. and you write it all down without fully understanding it, because faithfulness does not require comprehension. It only requires the willingness to carry what you are given, even when you cannot see the end of the road. Level 8. The last word. You are 90 years old. The angel comes one final time. He says, "Go your way, Daniel." The words are sealed until the end of the days. You will rest, and then you will rise to receive your inheritance. You sit for a long time after he leaves. The window that faces Jerusalem is open. Through it comes the dry heat of a Babylonian afternoon, and beneath it, if you imagine hard enough, the smell of a city you have not seen in 74 years. You were 16 when they marched you out through those gates with rope on your wrists. 3 times every day since then, morning, noon, evening, you opened this window and knelt on the floor and prayed toward home, not secretly, not quietly. The window always opened because you decided long ago that you would not pray like a man who was ashamed of what he believed. You did not always feel certain. There were nights in this palace when Jerusalem felt so far away that you could not be sure the prayers were reaching anything at all. You prayed anyway. That is the only thing you know how to explain to anyone who asks. You were not always faithful because you were strong. You were faithful because you had decided at 16, with rope on your wrists and fire behind you, that this was the only way you knew how to live. And you never found a reason good enough to stop. You close your eyes and now you are history.